Hello everyone, my name is Eliyahu David, Minister of the 12th Hour Apostolic Secretary, Congregation out the 12th Hour in Liberty Hill, Texas. Today is July 13, 2013. Alright, it is the 6th day of April, 2017. We start our second service on the Sabbath day with a song entitled The 90 and 9. There were 90 and 9 that safely lay in the shelter of the fold, but one was out on the hills away, far from the gates of gold, away on the mountains wild and bare, away from the tent, the shepherd's care, away from the tent, the shepherd's care. Thou hast heard thy 90 and 9, but be not enough for thee. But the shepherd answered, one of mine has wandered away from me. And although the road be rough and steep, I go to the desert to find my sheep. I go to the desert to find my sheep, but none of the ransom ever knew how deep were the waters cry. How dark was the night that they all passed through. There he found his sheep that was lost. For out in the desert he heard his cry, fainting and helpless and ready to die, fainting and helpless and ready to die. Now whence are these blood drops sown away that mark out the mountain's track? They were shed for one who had gone astray, and the shepherd could bring him back. Now why are the hands so rent and torn? They are pierced tonight by the many a thorn. They are pierced tonight by many a thorn. But all through the mountains thunder riven, and up from the rocky steep, there rose a great cry to the gate of heaven, rejoice, I found my sheep. And the angels sang around the throne, rejoice, for the Yahshua brings back his own. Rejoice, for the Yahshua brings back his own. Part 2, Yahshua's Righteousness. We're going to refer to a prayer thought taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 5, the whole chapter. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of the Elohim and a house not made with the hands, eternal in the heaven. We know the first tabernacle here on earth was made with the Moses' hands. Okay. So he got his pattern from that tabernacle that came down out of heaven from Mount Sinai. He was caught up into the mount for 40 days, received the instructions of how to make the tabernacle here on earth after the pattern shown to him in the mount. So Yahshua entered back into that heavenly tabernacle, not made with the hand, that came down upon Sinai the first time. This is Yahshua's tabernacle. For in this we groan earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house which is from heaven. If so be that being clothed we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened, not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon that mortality might be swallowed up of life. Now he that hath wrought us for the selfsame thing is Eliyahu, who also hath given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Now let's back up a little bit again and let's read the first several verses. And for we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, okay, we have a building of Eliyahu, a house not made with the hands, eternal in the heaven. So those of you that were Seventh-day Adventists and Division Seventh-day Adventists that are used to going to church buildings on the Sabbath, okay, if those church buildings become dissolved and all the ministry within it, and you are found as a faithful member, you have nothing to fear if you're right in the eyes of Yahweh and Yahshua, for you have a heavenly tabernacle. Now you'll find that mentioned in Hebrews chapter 12. Church of the firstborn, which is written in heaven. Go read it, the whole chapter, more preferably 22 through 24 of Hebrews 12. Now it goes on to say that we have a building of Eliyahu, a house not made of the hands, eternal in the heaven. Okay, now that house is eternal. And it will stay that way after this earth is dissolved. And the redeemed are taken to that house in the heavens. So that house in the heavens is where the universe is ruled from. For in this we groan earnestly desiring to be clothed upon with our house which is from heaven. Okay. Now it says in Isaiah 2 and Micah 4, the mountain of the house of the Yahweh, which is the house of David. So this house from heaven today would translate into the house of David with the 144,000. Yahshua having come down and taken charge of the 144,000, bringing his tabernacle, his house with him. If so be that being clothed we shall not be found naked. For we that are in this tabernacle do groan, being burdened not for that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon that mortality might be swallowed up of life. So now it says, now he that hath wrought unto us for the selfsame thing is with the Yahweh, the Father, who also hath given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Now Yahweh the Father gave unto his Son the earnest of the Spirit. The earnest of the Spirit is his people that are redeemed by the blood of Yahshua. That's the earnest of the Spirit. He has also given unto us the earnest of the Spirit. Okay? Therefore, we are always confident knowing that whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Yahshua. For we walk by the faith in the blood of Yahshua and not by the sight. You don't walk by the outward show of any kind of a spiritual leader or minister of any kind. You don't make an idol out of him. Don't walk after his sight. You walk after the Spirit, faith in the blood of Yahshua after the Spirit. We are confident, I say, and willing rather to be absent from the body and to be present with the Yahshua in the Spirit. Wherefore we labor, that whether present or absent, we may be accepted of him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of the Yahshua. So this actually says the Yahshua here in the scripture. So how does that happen? I thought he was a high priest and had the priestly attire on. Well, high priest is only once a year. How about his priestly attire, where he operates 364 days a year as a priest in the heavenly sanctuary? All of a sudden, he's got a robe, a kingly robe on, and a crown. And he's sitting upon a throne, which is called the throne in the house of David. Here upon this earth, these latter days, to take his reign. When he takes that place on that throne, it means that he's through with the mediating for mankind in that first department of the heavenly sanctuary. It means that we're in the judgment of living now. Yahshua was in that heavenly sanctuary in the first department, mediating for mankind 364 days a year during the judgment of the dead period from 1844 to 2003. After that period is up, he stopped mediating as a priest. Because when you come to the end of the judgment of the dead at Gilead Center in 2002, 2003, there's only one conjecture to make. That the judgment is over for the Adventist Church and the Davidians and the Branch Davidians collectively. Those three feeding pastures of the Adventists, Bashan, Carmel, and Gilead are all through. They are judged in the judgment of the dead period. Yahshua lays off his priestly attire at the end of the judgment for the dead at Kermit, Texas, at the Passover 2002. He put on his kingly attire. He came as a vindicator this time. He didn't come at this Passover 2002 to Kermit, Texas as a redeemer. He came as a vindicator, to vindicate his wrath that he had against the house of Israel with the angel of the seventh candlestick, Roland Johnson, at the helm, and the third feeding pasture, Gilead Center, with the office of inspiration, and having restored fully the sanctuary system and had been practicing it for 33 years, the ordained system of true worship. Published every principle, every precept, every statute and judgment that covers the practice of the ordained system of the true worship. Restored all divine institutions, and that the main 5 main for the feast days, he restored them to the 7th-day Sabbath, make it complete. He restored the daily. He restored the forgiveness article, Matthew 18. He restored the health laws, and then ended up fighting against every one of them when his elder Eliyahu David tried to get him to enforce those statutes that he had restored back in 1970. Okay? So now, when they stand before the judgment seat of Yahshua, it's in the judgment of the living time. The only way Gilead Center is going to stand before the judgment seat, and any Adventist today of Yahshua, is they're going to have to be resurrected. Except those that are living right now in the 12th hour that are being judged in the judgment of the living time. Then they're judged as their names come up on a daily basis. But those that had died going backwards from the 12th hour back through the 10th hour, because the Adventists operated in the 10th and the 11th parabolic hour. Eliyahu David operates in the 12th parabolic hour. The 10th and the 11th parabolic hour that was allocated for the Adventists was during the judgment of the dead period, which lasted 158 years from 1844 through 2002. But the judgment of living, half-hour silence opened in 2002 at Kermit, Texas, Revelation 8. opening up the book of 7 seals, actually, and had a half-hour silence, a 7-year investigative judgment period for the Adventists. Okay. From 2003 2010. Now the Ezekiel 9 is over for the Adventists. Because Yahshua come and laid off his Roman priestly attire and put on his kingly attire. And he started his judgment at the ancient men for the house, 1 Peter 4:17. And he started with the ancient men for the house, Ezekiel 9:6. And the most ancient one was the last prophet appointed with the office of inspiration over that 7th candlestick, Laodicea, which is the name of the church of the Seventh-day Adventists. Now, do you understand that? Laodicea is the name of the church of the Seventh-day Adventists. Adventists just adopted the name Seventh-day Adventists for their name so that they could hide their identity as the Laodiceans that are spewed out of his mouth, the angel of the 7th candlestick. From the start goes, the Seventh-day Adventists tried to distance themselves from being identified with that 7th candlestick, Laodicea. They wanted to be identified as the Seventh-day Adventists that keep the Sabbath, that has the 3 angels' messages. They didn't want to tell you what those 3 angels taught. They could care less. All they wanted to boast of is we have the 3 angels. Because if they even taught what the 3 angels taught, the Adventists would stay busy. They stayed busy explaining the judgment of the dead, and the first phase of it, they stayed busy judging and teaching that we need to stay up to date on prophecy so we all know when it passed when it'll pass from the dead to the living. If they'd only just studied the 3 messages of the 3 angels. The first angel message was the hour of his judgment has come. Well, they know in 1844 started the judgment for the dead. The Adventists was given that message, Daniel 7, 9, and 10. And they know that they were supposed to continue on prophesying where William Miller left off, 1844 on, and declaring judgment, because that's what Laodicea means, a people declaring judgment. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. But because the Adventists refused to keep declaring the judgment that William Miller started in 1833 and carried on for 10 years, because they refused to carry on the judgment message, then they didn't want to be identified as Laodicea either, because Laodicea means that people declaring judgment. And Adventists didn't want to keep on declaring judgment. Because number one, if they did, guess what would happen? They would drive a final nail in the coffin of that Pope. And that deadly wound would have never healed if the Adventists had kept on teaching and prophesying about the judgment of the dead, the commission that they were given. Okay, so they finally got away and lost that identity of Laodicea, which, after a fashion, they interpreted Laodicea means that people asleep. But you can't find a definition in the dictionaries that will associate with Laodicea in that manner. So they make up different things to fit their description. They were people that wanted to slumber and go back to sleep. And so doing so, then their enemies call them Laodiceans, meaning a people loving to sleep and lying down, loving to slumber. Dumb dogs that will not never bark again. Taking on that information written there in Isaiah 56 about these dumb dogs lying down, loving to slumber. They pinned that label on the Adventists because they stopped continuing to declare judgment. So that label of Isaiah 56 about them being dumb dogs lying down, loving to slumber, that stuck to them. And so Laodicea then became synonymous with the term sleeping, slumbering. So it says in 2 Corinthians 5:10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of the Yahshua. But since when have we ever learned that Yahshua ever sat upon the judgment seat in the heavenly sanctuary? in the second apartment in the most holy place. Because the description of the sanctuary on the Day of Atonement is always the Father coming down and taking his place above the mercy seat in the most holy place, and Yahshua, the priest and the high priest function on that day, rises up and closes the outer door and opens up that center curtain separating the two apartments in the sanctuary, making it all one on the Day of Atonement, and he's there along with his Father. His Father is taking his seat upon his throne above the mercy seat in the most holy. Yahshua, the high priest, can only approach unto him. He has to bring the altar of incense and place it between him and the Father and the Ark of the Covenant. And then Yahshua has to offer up the prayers of the saints with the incense from off that altar with a sweet-smelling savor. In order for the Father on that Day of Atonement to accept the Son's offerings and grant pardon to all of those names that's written in that book that year. But then the time comes now when that scene changes. The judgment of the dead is over. Now we've got Yahshua alone sitting up on the judgment seat of his throne, which is nothing but the throne of David that he had inherited from the Father, and the Father gave it to him in Luke 1:32, gave it to him to sit upon the throne of his earthly father David here in these last days to reign until he put all enemies under his footstool. And the only way he can put all enemies under his footstool is that he has to sit and reign as the king upon a judgment throne, executing judgment and justice. Okay, and then when he gets through judging the wicked, he takes them and along with the false prophet in Revelation 19:10 and casts them into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. And that's right here in the 12th parabolic hour, folks, when this will take place. Okay? So it looks like we kind of got bogged down there on that verse 10 there in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, but let's do it again. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of the Yahshua, that everyone may receive of the things done in his body, according unto that he hath done, whether it be good or bad. Okay? Knowing therefore the terror of the Yahshua, now we're learning about his terror, and we can only learn about that when he becomes a king, to sit upon his throne, executing judgment and justice here in this last days, upon all of his enemies. So if you don't meet the scrutiny of the eye, and you don't pass muster, you come to the judgment seat, and don't let it be said unto you, depart from me, ye that work iniquities, for I know you not. Because that could very well happen if you're not giving your all to serve him and do his will. Now, that can very well happen. Alright, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 11. Knowing therefore the terror of the Yahshua, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto Elohim, and trust also are made manifest in your consciences. For we commend not ourselves again unto you, verily give you occasion to glory on our behalf, that we may be somewhat to answer them which glory in the appearance and not in the heart. For whether will we beside ourselves, it is unto Elohim, or whether we be sober, it is for your cause. For the love of Yahshua constraineth us, because we thus judge that if one died for all, then we're all dead. And that he died for all, that they which live should not henceforth live unto themselves, but unto him which died for them and rose again. Notice it said, they didn't say which died for us and rose again. It says which died for them. You go to Hebrews 9, 14 and 15, and it said he died for those under the first covenant. And also in Romans 3, 24 and 25. He has made a propitiation for sin for the sins that were past, it says. Not for the sins that are present and future that hadn't been confessed yet. Okay. It says, for we commend ourselves again unto you, really giving you the occasion of glory on our behalf, that we may be have somewhat to answer. Them which glory in the appearance and not in the heart. For whether we be beside ourselves, it is unto the Yahshua, or whether we be sober, it is for your cause. For the love of Yahshua constraineth us, because we thus judge that if one died for all, then we're all dead. Okay. So if he died for everybody, then they were all dead at the same time. Why should they be living at the same time? He died for them all. Just let them all die at one time, take a zone, and just let them die, and then go and die for them and cover all their sin, and leave them dead until the resurrection. Then they come forth in the resurrection, if that's the way it works, but I don't think so. Verse 15, 2 Corinthians chapter 5. For that he died for all, that they which live should not henceforth live unto themselves, but unto him which died for them and rose again. Wherefore henceforth know we no man after flesh, yet, though we have known Yahshua after flesh, yet now henceforth know we him no more. Therefore if any man be in Yahshua, he is a new creature. All things are passed away. Behold, all things will become new. All things. And all things are the Elohim, who hath reconciled us unto himself by the Yahshua Messiah, and hath given unto us the ministry of the reconciliation. Now how about that? It says, and all things are of the Elohim, who hath reconciled us unto himself by the Yahshua Messiah, his Son, and hath given unto us the ministry of the reconciliation. Now we have that ministry. That's Elijah's ministry right now. And if that don't happen, Yahweh is going to come and smite the earth with a curse. Okay? To wit, that Elohim was in the Yahshua, reconciling the world unto himself, not imputing their trespasses unto them, and hath committed unto us the word of the reconciliation. Now then, we are ambassadors for Yahshua, as though Elohim did beseech you by us. For we pray you in Yahshua's day, be ye reconciled unto the Yahweh Father Elohim. For he hath made him to be sin for us, who knew no sin, that we might be made the righteousness of the Yahshua in him. Okay, end of chapter 5 of 2 Corinthians. We will now go into the theme of our main study, and that is Righteousness by Faith, Part 2, taken from 2 Counter Greetings, page 35, where we will continue at the bottom of the page. So it says in Matthew 11:28-30, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Always remember that Elohim has not called you unto your post of the duty in order to feed you or to make you rich, but to save you and to save others through you. Therefore, whatever you do, do it for the glory of the Yahweh. Then and then only will he provide all those things. For the things Elohim sees fit to give, he will see that you earn your needs one way or another. Nothing less than the faith of the Noah, of the Job, of the Daniel will pay the bills. Okay, let's do that again. Nothing less than the faith and the blood of Yahshua that Noah first exemplified, or Job or of the Daniel, exemplified the same thing, faith in the blood of the everlasting covenant, will pay the bill. Brother, sister, because anything short of this is an insult unto the Yahweh Elohim. It is the same as to call him a deceiver. Doubt in the promises of the life completely robs the doubter of all the Elohim's blessings and promises. Only when you learn to trust him will he be unto you an hiding place from the wind and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. Isaiah 32:2. Seek ye the first the kingdom of the Elohim and his righteousness. Now let's do that again. Seek ye first the everlasting kingdom of the Yahshua, the Son, and of his righteousness. That's what we're dealing with, folks, is the righteousness of Yahshua. And all these things shall be added unto you. This promise held good in the David's time, and it will hold good now. Psalms 4:5. Offer the sacrifice of the righteousness and put your trust in the Yahshua. By the personal experience, David knew Yahshua's faithfulness. David knew of Yahshua's faithfulness. Having done all that was to be done in serving of the Yahweh Elohim, he was confident that when the bear and the lion came to devour his lambs, that the Yahweh Elohim would deliver him if he did not, although he did not all he could to spare them. Moreover, believing that the Elohim had promised of the kingdom unto him, and having been anointed to be king over Elohim's people, David doubted nothing. Recognizing his duty, he fearlessly went after the giant Goliath, who was defying Elohim and his kingdom. Now, what made it so easy for David to do this? Because he was anointed of Samuel at a very young age as a tender young shepherd boy, out there herding the sheep. Samuel called him in just long enough to anoint him and let him go back to his sheep. And it said the Spirit of Yahweh came upon him that very day, at that very time, and said the spirit of King Saul departed from him at that same time. So Yahweh took it away from one and he gave it to another through the anointing process by a prophet. We have the same thing today, folks. Personal experience, David knew Elohim's, of the Yahshua's faithfulness. David knew it. Now, I've been anointed, I've been commissioned, and I have never been visibly anointed by a prophet today to take up this antithetical commission of David. But knowing this, that first anointing by Samuel on the typical David stands up for the antithetical David, because David doesn't have to be anointed twice to fulfill his commission. And I represent the second and the last end of David's commission. So I am operating under the commission, or with the commission, that was first given to David by the first anointing. Okay? Okay, so it says, by the personal experience, David knew of the Yahshua's faithfulness. He said, by the personal experience that David had. So what was the personal experience? Let's read it. Having done all that was to be done in the serving of the Yahshua, that's in the Old Covenant, folks, he was confident that when the bear and the lion came to devour his lamb, that the Yahweh the Father would deliver him if he did all he could to spare them. He did all he could to spare the little sheep, and Yahweh the Father, and through his Son, would spare them. So actually we're talking about Yahshua would deliver him if he did all he could to spare the little flock. And David did. So likewise today, I have that same faith in the blood of the everlasting covenant of Yahshua, and I got the same permission. And so therefore I fearlessly go forward with it in the spirit and power of Elijah, declaring the last days, what we call the gospel truth, declaring it through the blood of the everlasting covenant, and having been anointed to be the king over the other people, or over Yahshua's people, David doubted nothing. Recognizing his duty, he fearlessly went after the giant Goliath, who would defy Elohim and his kingdom. And what kingdom was that? That's the kingdom that David had already been anointed and been promised to. Once we got the old king out of the way, King Saul, and David knew that that kingdom of Yahweh, of the Yahshua, belonged to him. That's why he fearlessly defended it. By the bear and the lion as a typology for the antitype in our day, which would be the Adventist Church and the Davidian Seventh-day Adventists. Adventists are represented by the bear. The first thing that David slew was the bear. He slew second the lion. The lion represents the Davidian Seventh-day Adventists in the South. So what is antithetical David and how is David going to do today? Going to slay the antithetical bear and the lion again today, in the form of Yahweh's once chosen people, and that's the Seventh-day Adventists and the Davidian Seventh-day Adventists, and the branch Davidian Seventh-day Adventists. Three groups of people that represents the two kingdoms, Judah and the 10 tribes, before they're put back together by this antithetical David, Ezekiel 37:22-24. Okay. So it says, let's read that again. Moreover, believing that the Yahshua is with the promising of the kingdom unto the David, and having been anointed to be king over the Yahshua's people, David doubted nothing from that point on. I mean, a little 17-year-old boy doubts nothing. He goes out and kills the bear and the lion that threatens his little sheep. He fears nothing because he has the spirit and power of the Samson upon him, because of the anointing of Samuel. There's power in the anointing, folks. There's power in being righteous, 100% righteous without sin. There's power in it. Because it says that he fearlessly went after the giant Goliath. That was the third one that had defied Yahweh's people to destroy it. First, the lion, the bear, in the typology representing trying to destroy the flock of the shepherd's sheep. Actually, two beasts, marauding beasts. Okay, so David proved himself there with the lion and the bear, so Yahweh says, I'll send you out and prove yourself against the real human beast. And so he met up with the biggest one of them all, that was Goliath, approaching 10 foot tall. Probably weighed around 600 pounds or better. 600-700 pounds. A giant of a man. And he was defying, last but not least, the armies of Israel. And he was confident that the giant could not harm him. David was very confident. By the faith in the blood of the Yahshua, he freed his people from the power of the giant. Whose people? King Saul's people. But King Saul is no longer in charge anymore. Oh yeah, in figure speech he is, but not in reality. David is. By the faith in the blood of the Yahshua, he overcame the lion and the bear and saved the lamb. By faith he knew that Saul could not take of his life, nor deprive him of the throne. That was to be his at his appointed time. For there is neither beast nor man that can take your life or cheat you of the promotion if you do the Elohim's bidding. If you know that he who keepeth Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. Psalms 121:3-4. That he knows all about you, my friends, every moment of the day and of the night, that he takes nothing even of the hairs that fall from your heads, that whatsoever befalls you is but Elohim's own will for you, for your own good. I say, if you knew and believe that He is good and the keeper of your bodies and souls, then regardless what ever befalls you, you will always be happy in that, and give Elohim all the credit for that, not a murmuring, verily a glorying, even in your trials and afflictions. Okay. So it says, Isaiah 26:4, trust you in the Yahshua forever. For the Yahshua, as a mighty ruler of the Israel, is with the everlasting strength. If you wholeheartedly trust in the Yahshua, and if the world should fall into the space and collide with the stars, you shall happily fly along with the Yahshua, the Son. And now let us now turn unto 2 Corinthians for the first chapter and see what Paul knew about the experience about the Elohim's care over him. 2 Corinthians 1:8 and 9. For we would not, brethren, have you ignorant of our trouble, which came unto us in Asia, that we were pressed out of the measure, above all strength, inasmuch that we despaired even of our life. Only we had the sentence of the death in ourselves, that we should not trust in ourselves. Okay. But in the Yahshua, which raises the dead. Now let's look at this now. Yahweh the Father raised His Son to the brother everlasting covenant from the dead first. That's in Hebrews 13:20. And now that Yahshua is resurrected, then He has that same power now to resurrect those that are dead in Him through the blood covenant of the Old and the New Testament together. It's all only one blood covenant, just taught in two different time periods, under the animal sacrifices for the first phase, the first period, and the sacrifice of Yahshua in the second phase. And I'm going to tell you something else. The first phase was all done under grace. When you practice the sacrificing of the dead of the animal, all under grace. When you practice the righteousness by faith in the blood of Yahshua, it's all by faith in His blood. It's not under grace anymore. Once you understand how it works and you are called to that service, then you pass from grace to everyday personal being under righteousness by the faith in the blood of Yahshua. All learned by the personal experience that it is futile for the trusting in a man and self, only that it pays high for the trusting in the Yahshua, that He alone is able to protect and keep both your body and soul from hell, that is. Psalms 127:1. Except the Yahshua builds a house. Look at this. Yahshua building the house. Who built the first one here on earth? Moses. Okay, so Yahshua builds the second house. Okay, did you know Yahweh the Father, the house was never built by Himself alone? It was first built by man here on earth, Solomon, and his helpers. The second house was built by Yahshua. What do you think about that? Okay, now Yahshua works through His visible servant, Eliyahu David, to raise up the tabernacle of this house and to put it back into full operation. That's what we're in the process of doing right now. Except that Yahshua built a house through His servant Eliyahu David and his co-helpers, and the last of his co-helpers would be the 144,000. That's going to help to come and finishing up building the walls and firming up the hedges around it. For they labor in the vain that build it. Okay, so except the Yahshua built the house through His chosen servant, like they did David. They chose David in the type, and David met the fulfillment of building Yahweh's first house here on earth through his son Solomon. So, Yahweh and his son had to come and create David first. Then he had to put it in his heart to do what he did, so that David in time would effect the building of the house of heaven here on earth. And that's the sanctuary system, built up the top made in the heavens. How you like that for the Yahweh reproducing himself in the form of his sanctuary service here on earth? First by creating it in the heavens, and then when he creates this earth, and he creates man upon it, then he creates man and gives him the ability and knowledge how to recreate Jerusalem here on earth. So man and Yahshua the Son are the ones responsible for recreating the new Jerusalem of heaven here on earth. Except the Yahshua build a house, they labor in the vain that build it. Except the Yahshua keep the city of the house of Israel. The watchman waketh but in vain. Okay? And there's no need for the watchman to wake and give the trumpet a certain sound and a sound alarm in his holy mountain. Joel chapter 2, verse 15. No, there's no need for it if Yahshua don't keep the city. Personally. Many of the Elohim's faithful people had the same experience as Paul. Time, however, will not permit me for speaking of more than a few. When we enter into the belief that the Bible recommends, then we are ready for the entering into of that experience that only Elohim wants us personally to be in. That after all counts most unto us, let me first give unto you my own as an experience or as a concrete example of what the Elohim does when we let him, or what the Yahshua does when we let him. Okay. While running a small hotel in the middle west back in 1919, so this is, I guess, P.T. Hollis speaking, I became intensely interested in religion and providentially joined the Seventh-day Adventists. We were at the time meeting in a rented hall, not too attractive for a church, for the people appeared to be very poor. Aside from the preacher, I was the only one that was driving a car, and he had a worn-out Ford that I would not have given $1 for it if I had to drive it. Imagine now what went through my mind, and you may know that I joined the church only for the truth's sake. Indeed, I had no other encouragement, for my hopes of getting rich someday became a nightmare of getting poor. Yes, the devil gave me as good a picture of poverty as he gave the Yahshua a picture of the glory of the nation, of the kingdoms. I nevertheless resolved to stay by the truth I had learned regardless of what happened. And the time came that I sold the hotel and accidentally got into a grocery business. After a time I found that I did not want to be in the grocery business and sold it at a loss. Then that dark and gloomy picture of coming unto poverty enlarged itself a hundredfold. But I did my best to keep happy in the Yahshua. There's your answer. Sometime after I had disposed of the grocery store, I left the city, and 6 months later I landed in California. Here I took ship, and after doing all I knew what to do, one of the retired Seventh-day Adventist ministers that lived in the same place where I was living said, "Let me take you to the Glendale Sanitarium, and I will recommend you as have a good and regular standing with the church, and they will give you good service and a lower rate too." When we got to the desk and asked the minister, told the desk clerk all that he had to say, the sanitarium clerk asked me what kind of deposit I could leave for admission. I said, "A check." It somewhat surprised me, for I had been in a hospital before, but was never asked to pay anything in advance, no, not even when I was dismissed. They sent me the bill by mail. When he saw that the check was drawn on an Illinois bank, I had to explain that I was somewhat new in the West and had not yet transferred my bank account. The clerk reluctantly took the check and I was assigned to a room, and politely told that I had to wait for the doctor until he should come around. Well, I waited all that day, but not a soul came in. By the evening, as sick as I was, I put on my clothes and went for supper into the dining room. Then I was told that the doctor was away, but he could see me just as soon as he came back. For 4 days, this went on, and not a soul came into my room. I could have died, and no one would have known it until perhaps days after. I suppose they had to get the money to the bank and find out if my credit was good before they would give me service. Finally, on the 4th day, the sanitarium chaplain came with apologies for his delay to see me. If I had known that you were a 7-day Adventist, he explained, I would have seen you sooner. I was not expecting him, though, and it did not make much difference with me. So I said unto myself, if you did not know that what I was, you should have come sooner. At last the doctor came, and after a thorough examination I was told that I was a very sick man and had to have a special day and night nurse to look after me, and that to give me the hydrotherapy treatments. With my consent, a student nurse came in. But when the shadows of the evening stretched over the sky, the nurse told me that they were short of special nurses, and so he himself was to wait on me all through the night if I let him move his cot into my room. All the time I was there, though, he never once got up at night to wait on me. And thus I had a private day and night nurse, and in the end I was charged 50 cents an hour, $6 daily for him to wait on me during the daytime, and $6 nightly for sleeping with me in the room. This alone, with the additional charges, was a heavy drain on my already dwindling savings, and the picture of growing broke and staying poor grew larger and larger in my own mind. But I recovered from my illness and was thankful. The sanitarium incident, although, produced another disappointing picture in my mind. Is that sanitarium of the Eliyahu's place for his sick people? I asked myself. Is this the people really Eliyahu's people? Or are there really Eliyahu's people today? For the answer that came under these questions was this: for the sanitarium is of the Eliyahu, and the church is the Eliyahu, but the people that are running them are reactionaries. They are the modern priests, scribes, and Pharisees, and there is a need for more sanitariums among them. This is where Eliyahu's truth is, though, and Eliyahu helping me, I said, I shall stay with it. Yes, Eliyahu did help me. And I kept the faith, not complaining, and stayed in the congregation with as good a record as any. I left the hospital. After I left the hospital, however, I was weak, and my bank account was almost completed. It appeared to me, too, that there was nothing that I could get into with the Sabbath off that I would fail to, or I'd fall to the mercy of some charity, or else starve. Moreover, for several months I had sent neither tithe nor my pledges of offerings unto the church in the Middle West. Consequently, I owed something like $75. I felt then that if I should fail to pay this debt now, while I had enough to pay it, I could never again get that much money together, and it would have to stay unpaid forever. Better get broke now, I said, and be free of debt than to get broke later and to be a debtor forever. My bank account, I figured, was just a little over my debt. I wrote a check for the whole balance and sent it to the church in the Middle West. I was left with $3.50 in my pocket. and with no prospect of a job. Then I wrote unto the bank in the Midwest that I was closing my account and that they should send the canceled checks and other papers to my address in California. At this point in my life, though, the table turned around as much as it turned with Abraham after he had done all but slay his son Isaac on the altar of the evidence. Just a few days after I'd written unto the bank, I heard from them, and to my great surprise, they had enclosed a check for about $350. As my final balance, I never discovered how it happened. In the meantime, I got a job in a wash machine agency, and just in the Seventh-day Adventists were having their 1923 camp meeting in Los Angeles, and so I decided to attend, and between the meetings to try to sell Maytag washers in the neighborhood. And what do you suppose? I sold a washer a day and a vacuum cleaners on the side. Then went on all the while the camp lasted, and my first check from the company was about $25. But this was not all. Just then another surprise overtook me. Some years before, I had bought stock which I had made up my mind was worthless, but to my surprise I received a letter in which the corporation inquired if I would like to sell it back to him, and the price he offered was more than double the price which I had paid. Here I had a real experience. All of my own, as promised in the Malachi 3:10. Moreover, this Maytag agency was new, and when I went to work for them, they had but a small pay. All the while I worked for them, though, they prospered and grew, as did Laban, while the Jacob worked for him. In 3 years' time, they opened branch offices all over the vicinity of Los Angeles, and then erected a building of their own, which looked like a bank inside and out, 1 block deep, sometime like 60 feet wide. As to how their prosperity ended, I will tell you a little later. This brings in verse 36, our contact at the 11th hour call, and that's number 11. Click on our audio archives here, this message and more. We're going to close now with a song entitled, We Are Nearing Home. Okay, let's do that again. We are nearing home. Just over the mountains in the promised land. There's a holy city built by Yah's own hand. As our wearied footsteps gain the mountain's crest, we can view our homeland of eternal rest. We are nearing home, we are nearing home. See the splendor gleaming from the domes of fog. See the glory streaming through the gates of joy. There will soon will enter nevermore to roam. Hear the angels singing, we are nearing home. We are nearing home. In the rows of the prophets we have long been told of the wondrous city with the streets of gold. Now with raptured vision we can see it there, with its walls of jasper and its mansions fair. We are nearing home, we are nearing home. See the splendor gleaming from the dawns of fog. See the glory streaming through the gates of joy. There will soon will enter evermore to roam. Hear the angels singing, we are nearing home. We are nearing promise with Yahshua too. It will lift our voices through the endless day in sweet songs of gladness and in songs of praise. We are nearing home. We are nearing home. See the splendor gleaming from the domes afar. See the glory streaming through the gates of joy. Ever soon we'll enter, nevermore to Rome. Hear the angels singing, we are nearing home. We are nearing home. My brother, my sister, will you meet us there? In the land of sunshine will there be no care, except God Yahshua's message and to him be true. Then when Yahshua cometh, he will call for you. We are nearing home. We are nearing home. See the splendor gleaming from the domes of far. See the glory streaming through the gates of joy. Ever soon we'll enter, nevermore